How's it going, everybody? My name is ZBilbs and I am back today with another video. It's been a while, so I'll give you a little recap of where I've been and what's to come. If you're not interested and you just want to skip right to the video, then go to this time right here. So pretty much the gist of where I've been, it's just, I've been finishing my school year and I've been starting up a summer job. So between time constraints and lack of motivation, I'm sorry, it hasn't been a video in a while. But now that I'm into the swing of summer, hopefully I'll have a nice stream of content coming out every week or two here. As you can see today, I'm starting with Dio, a band that I've been anxious to get to. I absolutely love Ronnie James Dio. Other bands that are coming up, I'm going to have Dream Evil, which is another power metal band. You've seen I've done Sabaton and Powerwolf. I'm a big fan of power metal from what I've heard. Let me know other power metal bands that you want me to do in the future. I'm considering Hammerfall and Firewind, but I know there's a lot of other great ones out there, so comment other power metal bands that I should do. But obviously I'm also going to tackle some more of the classics, so I'm also going to have my Black Sabbath albums ranked coming out in the near future, and I'm currently working through Judas Priest as we speak, so look forward to that one in the next few weeks. But let me know any other bands, classic, legacy, modern that you'd like me to do. I'm considering, Alice in Chains, System of a Down, whatever. So just let me know. And also let me know any other video ideas you'd like me to do. If you want me to do some more top 20 song ranking for certain bands, I can get on to those. Or if you want some not metal content, I'm also I might finally get my Doom Eternal levels ranked video out there. I played through Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga, so I can do a levels ranked for that one. I'm probably going to review the Kenobi series once the final episode airs this Wednesday. So a lot of new content that either is coming or potentially may be coming. Depends on what you guys think and how I feel. But with that all out of the way, I think it's finally time to get to the actual albums. So let's get going with the worst album, in my opinion. And for most people, from every single ranking I've ever seen for Dio albums, both videos and online, it's always been Angry Machines. And I will be probably the first person who I've ever seen who won't be ranking Angry Machines as the worst Dio album. Instead, I'm giving the dishonor of my least favorite Dio album to Strange Highways. Now, from what I can see, this one kind of has a mixed reception. I've seen generally speaking, this is like low to mid on the ranking, but I know that this one does have a pretty solid cult following. And I mean, I guess I can kind of see why. I mean, this is one of like the most unique Dio albums out there. From this one and the album before, there was like a complete tonal difference. It took away like the classic Dio sound from like albums 1 through 5, and it like brought in like a brand new like ultra heavy sound, even slightly grunge influenced, since it is coming out in the 90s, that would carry over sort of into Angry Machines. And most people enjoyed this one more because they're, okay, this is first, this one's heavier, this one's just, better songwriting all around. For me, I personally did just not get much enjoyment at all from this. It just, from what I like in Dio, this was just absolutely not there. Although I do love a good heavy sound, nice heavy riff here and there, for me, the really like heavier, grungier stuff just does not go with Dio in the slightest. My favorite style of Dio is actually that lighter, more like classic rock, heavy rock type stuff, like especially stuff he did in Rainbow. Once you start getting to like going the really like deep grungy stuff, there's just not much to enjoy. As for songs, the only song I get some sort of enjoyment out of in here is Jesus, Mary, and the Holy Ghost. Other than that, I think Hollywood Black is fine, but there's just nothing else that even interests me in the slightest. So yeah, Strange Highways, that is coming in at my worst Dio album. But next up, And you guys are probably hoping for Angry Machines as my next, but once again, I'm gonna have to disappoint you. Instead, my 9th place pick goes to Killing the Dragon. This is his second to last album. It was early 2000s. And a lot of people consider this kind of a return to form, like one of the better of the kind of 90s and onward era of Dio. And for me, this is just, it's not quite as like just egregiously unlistenable as Strange Highways and that weird stuff. Once you get onto Magica and onward, it's kind of a return a little bit to that, like, you know, classic Dio sound. But for me, why this album is just so mediocre is just the songwriting is just absolutely forgettable. There are just so few songs that are interesting in the slightest. There's some nice sounds and stuff, but nothing is quite put together in any sort of interesting way. The highlights from this album would be Killing the Dragon. The title track is pretty good. And then also Better in the Dark is a decent song as well. But really, nothing else besides that. There's some nice sounding stuff, but just nothing quite comes together to make a decent enough song that I would actually want to listen to a few times. So all in all, that makes it just a very mediocre album for me, and that is Killing the Dragon at number 9. Moving on to number 8. Now I'm finally putting Angry Machines on here because this next one is indeed Angry Machines. So everybody hates this album, and I mean, I definitely get it. The same thing goes that I said for Strange Highways also applies for Angry Machines. It's a much, you know, darker, heavier, grungier sound for Dio, which I generally don't think works as far as Dio goes. But why this album is a little bit better than Strange Highways for me is I think there are actually some like genuinely just interesting and just solid songs worth listening to. Out of like the heavier stuff, some solid ones. Black is all right. And I actually really enjoy Institutional Man. I believe that's the first one on the album. But then a surprisingly, like, really kind of out of tone for this album, but really good song is This Is Your Life. That's just an awesome piano ballad, has some absolutely excellent vocals by Dio, as usual. He's like, you know, the GOAT when it comes to metal vocals, maybe. But all in all, I mean, this album isn't great, let's be honest. Like, probably half of Dio's albums are bad to mediocre. But it does make for, you know, an all-right album with a handful of songs that are worth listening to. So that finally is Angry Machines, coming in at number 8. Next up at number 7, for these next 3, those bottom 3 I think are generally relatively bad, mediocre albums. These next 3 are very much just like middling to average albums. They're, you know, like, they've got some good songs and they've also got a good handful of forgettable songs. So all in all, they're kind of good to mediocre, where those bottom 3 were bad to mediocre. But my number 7th pick is Magica. Now, this one is probably the most cult classic-y out of, you know, after the first, like, 4 or 5 albums. And the rest are not beloved as much, but Magica, actually, a lot of people really love this one, partially due to it being the only real concept album that Dio has. And don't get me wrong, I love a good concept album. You know, I love having a shared link between songs in an album, but a concept album done right makes an album even better. A concept album done wrong, it just, you know, it just makes it feel kind of pointless. Like, what was even the point of making a concept album if, you know, it's not good? Then yeah, I don't know. But either way, I don't love this album all that much. It's got some good songs in there. As long as it's not about love is all right. Losing My Insanity is good. Fever Dreams is probably the best on the album. But other than that, there's just so many forgettable songs in there that, once again, they're more so to progress the whole story that the album is going for. And they feel more so trying to go for the story and less so of just trying to make an interesting song. So all in all, I mean, I get why people like this one, and I think it would have been interesting to see the two sequel albums that were planned to follow after Magica, Magica 2 and 3, because I do think the story is interesting, but the songs are just not all that great, which makes Magica come in near mid-bottom at my 7th pick. But ahead of Magica just by a bit, and this is probably another controversial pick, and I have got Sacred Heart coming in at my 6th spot. Now this one, the first 4 Dio albums are like kind of, maybe even 5, are kind of considered like, that most like classic Dio sound, that 80s sound that everybody knows and everybody loves. But generally speaking, Sacred Heart is kind of seen as the lesser of the initial 4 albums, and I think for very good reason. And obviously, I think it is worse than more than just those top 4. I think it's, all the way down to 6th where I have it. I don't know what went wrong with this album because, it's still got Dio in his prime vocally. There's some interesting, musical stuff going there. The problem with this one is just there's just not many very interesting songs. I don't know, just like some of the other, like Killing the Dragon. Musically there's a lot of good stuff there, but just songwriting, there's just nothing really that interesting. And same for Sacred Heart. Even the title track, Sacred Heart, like I'm a lot of people love it. I'm not a huge fan of it at all. My favorites from this album, the opener, The King of Rock and Roll, is solid. Like the Beat of a Heart is also solid. And then the standout from this album, in my opinion, is Rock and Roll Children. That's a pretty killer song. But besides that, once again, it just kind of feels just bland and generic, which makes overall a pretty middling Dio album, which should have been one of his greats. But moving on into number 5, I have got Master of the Moon. This was the last Dio album released. Generally, people rank this one near the bottom, and I can see why. It's similar criticisms for Killing the Dragon. It's got a similar sound as Killing the Dragon. I like this one a solid amount more than Killing the Dragon, though, because I just think the songwriting across the board is just a lot better. My favorite songs from this album would be One More for the Road, Living a Lie, and Master of the Moon, which I think is an excellent title track. But pretty much everything to say about this one. As I've said, it can be said about Killing the Dragon. It's probably his best of, the post first 5, the new era 90s onward of Dio, which isn't saying that much. I still think overall this is a pretty middling album. Sadly, just Dio, as great of a singer as he is, he just doesn't have that many just excellent solo albums, which is a shame. But Master of the Moon, still some good stuff to listen to in there, and that is coming in at number 5. Now, 4 onward from all of these range from good to great. I think all of these top 4 are the actually the Dio songs that are worth listening to, the Dio albums, that is. I think 5 and downward are probably you can skip. 4 and upward, I think these are genuinely great albums. So coming in at number 4, I have got Lock Up the Wolves. This one, I think it's a pretty bad reputation. I've seen this one ranked like at the bottom or pretty low on a lot of people's lists because they're like, oh, this is like the end of the good era of Dio. There's nothing interesting in there. And I would disagree pretty heavily. I think this one has got, it retains the classic sound of the earlier Dio stuff, and I think it's got a lot of really great songs. Some of the songs you got My Eyes, which it has some awesome callbacks to his other songs. You've got Between Two Hearts, Born on the Sun, Wild One, which is fantastic, and then the clear standout, which is the title track, Lock Up the Wolves. That one is just so catchy and awesome. I love it. It's probably in my top 10, maybe even top 5 Dio songs. So Lock Up the Wolves, it's a great album, underrated, and that is coming in at my 4th pick. Moving on to number 3. These top 3 are, I think it's usually most people's top three, except for the crazy people who love Magica. I've seen that put at three a lot. But my number three is going to Dream Evil. Now this is, and I think also, I think it's interesting, like the mascot, I gotta look up the name, but he's in all of these top three. So it seems like maybe if he would have kept putting his like weird devil horn mascot guy on his albums, he would have had better albums. But I digress. Dream Evil is an excellent album. It's, you know, once again, has the classic Dio sound, sounds great across the board, and has a lot of absolutely killer songs. You've got Naked in the Rain, you've got Sunset Superman, you've got the title track Dream Evil, and my favorite on the album, probably one of my favorite Dio songs of all time, All the Fools Sailed Away. Once again, like, just fantastic album. I don't know why more people don't consider it in kind of his classic stuff. Generally, I think that's saved for these top two, but I think Dream Evil, more people should revisit this one and truly realize just what an absolute gem it is. But with that out of the way, moving on to the top two, and it is his first two albums, which is a shame that he wasn't able to quite innovate as much later on. But either way, these top two albums are excellent, and coming in at number two, I have The Last in Line. This really just feels like Holy Diver Part 2, honestly. Dio's still at his prime. He's still making absolutely excellent songs. The lineup is still great. I mean, you've got a great closer in Egypt, or The Chains Are On. The title track, The Last in Line, is fantastic. You've got One Night in the City. You've got Evil Eyes, and you've got a handful of other pretty solid ones, but those are the real heavy hitters for me. This one, probably same level of songwriting, same level of musicianship that the top one, which you already know, has. I just think that the number one, which I'll say in just a sec, just has more great songs than The Last in Line has, which is why I like it just a bit more. But moving on to number one, what else could it be? It's Holy Diver. This is just the quintessential Dio album. Nothing even comes close to it, honestly. Like, the gap between Last in Line and Holy Diver, even though The Last in Line, it's still a great album, just Holy Diver has got it beat on pretty much every level. As for the songs, you've got Stand Up and Shout, you've got Shame on the Night, you've got Straight Through the Heart. My favorite ones would be Don't Talk to Strangers. The title track, Holy Diver, is a classic, and probably my favorite Dio song of all time, Rainbow in the Dark. Some of those might be a little overplayed, but I still love them anyways. Overall, this is just, you know, it's Dio at his best, best quality of songs, largest number of songs, which just makes Holy Diver just a slam dunk for best Dio album. But that is my list for the top 10 Dio albums. You know, rest in peace to his memory. I really wish we could have more albums, but, you know, he obviously left a fantastic legacy with his work on his solo stuff through Black Sabbath and through Rainbow. But let me know what you thought of this list. Comment below how you would rank the 10 Dio albums. I'll be ranking some of his other stuff in the future. I'll get to his Black Sabbath work. I'll be ranking Black Sabbath soon here. I might get to Rainbow sometime. Who knows, maybe Elf someday, but yeah. But stay tuned for more videos, and you know, that's all I got for you. I'll see you later.